This is our last module, module number 12. We have had our draft meetings with most of you and discussed the drafts of the first and second section of your paper. We've also discussed your paraphrase check work. If I found any problems, I've sent that paraphrase check work back with you with my notes. Some of you I've asked to do some additional work before you complete the final draft of your paper. Sometimes we need to check for plagiarism or for inaccurate paraphrasing, and this is a very important part of the process of writing a research paper, to make sure that when you report what a source says, that you put it in your own words if you're not quoting. And remember, I don't want to see a lot of quotes in this paper, no more than 1 or 2 per section, and then the quotes should be brief. So now what you need to do is finish drafting your research paper project. You've completed the first and second section of that paper, and now you have to complete the third section. Of course, you have to go back and take a look at that first and second section, take a look at the notes that I've given you, and correct them according to how I've asked you to correct them, and then try to get the final draft looking as good as the final draft of the third section to look as good as the drafts of the first 2 sections. Also, you need to make sure to edit and proofread your work, and we'll take a look at that later in this webinar. Finally, when I meet with you in your group session, we'll be talking about the debriefing survey and essay, which will be available to you starting later in the week. This should only be done, this final work should only be done after you've completed your final draft and submitted your research paper to me using the assignments tool in module 12, and then go on and do the debriefing survey and essay work, which should not take you very long. So we've been counting down to the end of the semester. We're now at module 12. We're finishing the research paper. Your final paper is due on Friday, December 10th. This is worth 40% of your final grade. You should be feeling pretty good about this. You've written a draft of the first 2 sections of the paper. You're starting to pull together the bibliography, and now you need to do a draft of the third section of the paper, and then give yourself time to redraft, to proofread, and to edit. Make sure to go through the notes for module 12. It reminds you what the final draft of the research paper should look like. You can also take a look at the York Scholar for examples of what I'm expecting in this research paper. Make sure that you have a cover page on a separate page. The second page of the paper will be the abstract, which is about a paragraph. The paper then begins on the third page of the paper and runs for 7+ pages, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages. And then the bibliography will be on a separate page. All this, of course, is put onto one file and then submitted through the assignments tool in module 12. Also, remember to get a high score on this paper. What I'm looking for are Scuddy body paragraphs, and I'll discuss those Scuddy body paragraphs in the next slide. We've gone over this before, but it bears repeating, just in case anyone missed this. If you want to get a high score in this paper, you need to do the things listed on this slide. You need to write your body paragraphs so that they're synthesized, cited, coherent, unified, and developed. If you have any question about what any of those terms mean, you can go back and look at notes throughout the semester, or you can email me with a question, and I will either set up a webinar meeting with you or answer your question quickly by email. Make sure too that you've answered the section question and that each section sticks to the question that's being asked in that section. So is the section unified? Looking for that. Are you using transitions between the body paragraphs? Are you guiding the reader from one body paragraph to the other? Are you using APA citation form? Is using citation correctly? Very important. Are all the sources that you cite in your reference page? And then looking at your reference page, is it formatted correctly according to APA academic form? Finally, you want to check to make sure that your grammar and sentence structure is correct. Your grade will reflect in part how well you're writing and how correct the grammar and sentence structure is. Just a quick reminder of what a paper abstract looks like. Remember, you need to write one and put it on the second page of the paper. First page being the cover page, second page being the abstract, and then the paper itself starts on the third page with the introduction and then the body and then the conclusion. I also could add that you need to add a header onto this paper. This is a page number that runs on the top right-hand side of the paper with a shortened version of the title of the paper. If you have not completed your paraphrase check work, you need to do so now. Do it before you hand in the final draft of your paper. I will not read your paper unless we've gone through this paraphrase check work first. If I've asked you to do some additional work in the paraphrase check work, please again get that work in prior to finishing and submitting the final draft of your research paper. If you have any questions about this, please email me. Once you've written the research paper and you think you've reached the final draft of it, you don't want to stop there. You want to revise your paper. And there are several different revising steps that you can participate in. The first one is revising for purpose and thesis. Basically what you're doing there is you're looking at the entire essay or the entire paper, and you're asking yourself certain questions like, did you answer the main research question? Was there anything that you missed? And then you might want to take a look at each of the body paragraphs and make sure that each one relates to the research question and that it's connected to the big research question. Do all the ideas in the paper relate to that main research question? The second thing you want to do is you want to revise for organization. You want to make sure that each of the sections is in the right order and that you're using good transitions between each of the body paragraphs. You want to try to make each of the sections about the same length. If one's a page and a half, then they all should be about a page and a half, 2 pages. And make sure that your paper has a simple, well-formed, clear title. The third thing that you want to do is make sure that all of your evidence is supported and that you've kept your opinion out of the paper at least until the conclusion. Do you have enough supporting material in each of the sections of the paper? Have you cited all of them? Do you have synthesized body paragraphs? Those sorts of things. Have you followed all the quotes that you've used with an explanation of what that quote means? That sort of thing. The fourth thing that you want to be aware of is you want to take a look at the introduction and conclusion. Make sure that you are introducing your reader to the main research question and that you've ended the introduction with your 3 section questions, as I've been showing you in the webinars and in the notes. And then have you saved any point of view about the findings for the conclusion? Use the conclusion to point the reader towards areas that you think are the best research or the best answer to the main research question that you've asked. Remember, the conclusion could take a page or a half a page, so don't make the conclusion too long. The introduction should be about a page to a page and a half. So that's the process of revising. You also want to go ahead and edit the paper, make sure there's no mechanical mistakes, no grammar mistakes. It'd be a shame for you to lose points and get a lower grade because your essay is not written very well or because you have fragments or comma splices, that sort of thing. One trick is to actually start with the last sentence of the essay and read backwards, starting with the last sentence, read that last sentence, then read the penultimate sentence, and that way you're not listening for the sense of the paper, but you're listening for any grammatical mistakes. And then before you submit it with the assignments tool, make sure to have a final read-through, a final proofreading. Make sure there's no silly mistakes, no spelling errors, so that the paper looks as good as it can before you send it off to me.